The newfangled all-star voting formula churned out the starters last night, with the biggest headline of the night being who isn't in the lineup. As for who is in the West, Steph Curry rode the fan vote into the starting lineup, joining James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, and Anthony Davis, who will start on his home floor in New Orleans. That, of course, left Russell Westbrook waiting for the inevitable nod as an all-star reserve. Despite finishing first among the media and fellow player votes, he lost out to Curry. That also means if Westbrook keeps up his scoring pace, he'll be just the fifth player to average 30 points a game and not get voted in as a starter since fans were granted all-star suffrage in 1975, and the first since Carmelo 10 seasons ago. First, before we get into your reserves here in a minute, I want to ask you how you like this new system. I'll give you my thought first. I like it. It allows the fans to have a significant voice without doing anything crazy. I mean, we love Zaza Pachulia, but Zaza Pachulia shouldn't be a starter in the All-Star game based on merit. He admits as much. And that's not going to happen. But an incredibly popular player who would have been an All-Star anyway, Steph Curry, is in the starting lineup.
Yeah, and I like the collaborative process. I like when you have these different components coming together to figure out what some people might think is a complex matrix to come up with all-star starters, but really isn't that difficult to understand. The fan vote is the heaviest in part of the tabulation.
It's half the equation, yeah.
And it's also kind of the safety net at the end.
Right.
I felt like, and I'm speaking Pat and the rest of the media members that chose on the back, I felt like if anybody nailed it when you look at the breakdown of all the votes, it was the media. We had it right. I mean, and we don't often get credit for it.
Boom.
But
boom.
I needed to use my tie. The media is
I had a ballot too.
The media is always
I agree.
right.
You know what?
I
mean, the media gets blamed.
I know I'm on
you
the
know
media.
What? The media gets blamed for everything.
This
is one thing we can brag about.
Isn't this about popularity? The marketing side of what the NBA is doing?
And that's 50% of the vote.
Yeah, I understand. But then, you go like, is he an all-star or is he all-NBA? This is where, a lot of people get, saying, he might be an all-star, but is he all-NBA?
So you wanted Dwayne Wade in the game. You wanted Zaza Pachulia.
Look,
Bryce Johnson and Mo Williams.
Who sells tickets?
Well, look,
are you going to go when Golden State goes around? They sell out everywhere they go.
Sure.
People sell their tickets,
and they're going to wind up with probably 4 All-Stars.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but when it's all said and done, if Russell Westbrook didn't get voted to be a starter, it's okay. But I'm going to tell you, it's the fans. They want to see who they want to see. And
I don't have a problem. That's exactly what I'm saying. To me, it's not a catastrophe that Russell Westbrook isn't going to start in the game. He's going to make the game, obviously.
To his fire
He's
anyway.
going to play in the game. He'll probably score 40 points in the game because he's Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. Well, but these players, I tell you, even with the players voting, where you see LeBron doesn't get any.
Now, the players should be held accountable.
That's what I'm
because the player votes were ridiculous in some cases. Guys not voting for LeBron James or not voting for Kevin Durant and voting for guys who haven't played a game this season.
Who aren't even on teams
technically. Guys who aren't technically on rosters at the moment.
I felt that was kind of a slap in the face to the process.
That's shameful.
You don't do that. I mean, if the league wants you to be a part of this process, and you've been banging the drum. I do remember Kevin Durant saying that the players should be in charge of this anyway a couple of years ago, talking about the postseason awards and that the media shouldn't have anything to do with it.
Well,
check the numbers, KD, and let's talk about it.
Right. And I agree with you. The players need to stand up. If this process is what you want to do, it's like voting. Stand up and use your vote. Use it to the way that you feel is that for what player you think is supposed to be on the team. But when you look at it, you go, LeBron James didn't get no votes. I'm going like, are you kidding me?
It's just
if you don't like a guy, but
that's one thing.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Different.
Yeah, but don't just go vote for. Don't get nothing against Mo Williams
or Bryce Johnson.
Williams hasn't played.
Yeah, neither one. It's like neither one of them.
That's not a knock on them. They haven't played.
No, they haven't played. But that's what I'm saying. Then everybody thinks it's a joke. You got 450 plus NBA players, and you get 2-3 votes out of there. It goes like, wow.
If you want the vote, take it seriously.
Yes,
I think that's
what it is.
All right, time to pick the 7 reserves from each side. The coaches will vote on this, but they asked for your opinions. They came to me collectively and said, we need to hear from Sekou and Rick first. You both agree on Russ, Klay Thompson, DeMarcus Cousins, DeAndre Jordan, and Marcus Gasol. Sekou went with C.J. McCollum and Draymond Green, while Rick chose Gordon Hayward and Mike Conley, and no one asked me, but I would split the difference between the two of you. I would go with Hayward and Green.
I mean, but that's the beauty of this process. You have people with different opinions. You watch a season and you look at one guy's performance and give him more credit than maybe somebody else does. I just felt like C.J. McCollum has really helped keep as much as you could possibly keep it together this year in Portland. He's been the guy who's been the most consistent. They've struggled, obviously, on defense, haven't gotten similar performances out of some other guys. He's been a beast, and when Dame Lillard was out, when he wasn't available, C.J. McCollum was the guy that was carrying that team.
Where do you guys stand on record and how much it matters?
It's different.
Anthony Davis was voted in despite not being in the playoff picture. You and I imagine, both voted him in on our media ballots. A lot of other people did as well. DeMarcus Cousins is probably going to make the All-Star team based on production. But like in C.J. McCollum's case, you mentioned the defense has been terrible. They're out of the picture at the moment.
Right.
It's for most people, I think it's a little bit of a factor.
For me to get Gordon Hayward in there is the way Utah's playing.
Yes.
Utah, to me, without him, I mean, it's all about the role players around him, but he's playing at a high level. I mean, he gives them the outside shot, he gives them that inside interior moves going to the basket, and he also helps them out on defense. So with that team growing, even though Rudy Gobert is on that team, you got to give them some love because they're right now in fifth spot in the West. So I give him love as far as putting Mike Conley on there. I give them love too because with them coaching change, a whole new system, his production, the team has been feisty as I don't know what. I have to give him that love. Draymond Green, I give him love because he's a Michigan boy. That's sag nasty. That's sag nasty. I love it, and I love his attitude, and I love his demeanor. I mean, why don't they just go to 15 guys?
Exactly.
It's 15 slots on the roster. Go to 15 guys.
There you go.
That would have made it a lot easier.
It would have made it a lot easier, but then we'd have an argument about the 16th and 17th guys. In the Eastern Conference, Kyrie Irving made the team over Isaiah Thomas, among others, along with DeMar DeRozan, LeBron James, who made the team for the 13th straight year. First-timer Giannis Antetokounmpo, also a first for the nation of Greece. Good for them. And the Bulls' Jimmy Butler are the starters. As for your East reserve suggestions, we'll get to those in a second. Did you have any problem with the East starters? Were you good with the East starters?
I had Isaiah Thomas.
I did too.
Ahead of Kyrie
on my ballot.
And Kyrie's a great player. Nobody would contest that. But to me, what Isaiah Thomas has done, best fourth quarter scorer in the league.
Right.
Carrying a Celtics team for a long stretch of the season. Al Horford was out, I think, 11 games or so.
Something like that.
He had a lot of work on his shoulders, and he's done a fantastic job. And I think sometimes we get caught up in who we think are all-stars as opposed to who's having an all-star season through that stretch where we're supposed to vote. And I felt like there's no way you can put this list together in the Eastern Conference and not have Isaiah Thomas in that first five.
I agree with you. And Isaiah Thomas, to me, is on sort of the second tier of the MVP conversation after Harden and Westbrook.
I'll tell you, Isaiah Thomas, that's the little big guy. That's the little big guy. That's that number 4. You got that number for a reason. That's the fourth quarter guy. I love his heart. I mean, the way he plays, man, his desire. But you know what? He'll be an all-star because we know he's an all-star. It's just tough when you got DeRozan who's been playing well. Kyrie's been playing well, so it's kind of hard. You get caught in the system a little bit.
Yeah, and I think if you really, Matt, you look down the list of guys, there are all-star mainstays in the East. You have these guys who are just Paul George. You think of an all-star in the Eastern Conference, no matter what the Pacers' record is, he's one of the best two-way players in the league. You say Paul George.
Right.
I think Paul Millsap is much in that same realm right now. If you look at his last 3 or 4 years, he's been an all-star caliber player, the best player on that Hawks team. It's those last two spots to me where it kind of gets tricky.
And I split the difference with you guys again on this because I would go Lowry and Love.
Yeah,
I think Lowry's a lock. I almost had Lowry in the starting spot for the media ballot as opposed to DeRozan. It was kind of a one or the other.
Yeah, and I don't care where you slot him once you get to the reserves, who's the first one you pick or who's the last guy you pick. I think it's all kind of in the wash the same way. The thing about Embiid that really struck me is that they have been out in the ether for the past couple of years. Until they got this guy in the mix and got him comfortable, we were making jokes about Philadelphia. Now they're actually a team that you tune in and watch to see what kind of production and dominance you're going to get out of Embiid on a given night.
Yep.
I'd love to see him in the All-Star weekend scene just because I know his personality is perfectly suited for what's going to go on in New Orleans.
Absolutely. He's got to be there one way or another. I would assume he'll be in the Rising Stars game on Friday night. They might find a way to get him into Saturday night activities as well. I guess for me, and I don't know where you guys stand on this, but for me it's just a matter of games played minutes played and record on top of that.
Yeah.
Clearly, he's going to be an all-star sooner rather than later.
He'll be an all-star. And, I mean, it's just not, to me, just in my vote, just not now. It's all about him, preparing, getting better each game. And, I look at Andre Drummond, who's been consistent. 20 rebounds. I mean, you got to give this man his love. He was an all-star last year. You got to favor him to be an all-star this year. And Kevin Love, surprisingly, reason why I picked him, he's been playing pretty good.
He's been playing really well.
He's been playing with 20 and 10 like every night.
Yeah.
I'm like, I thought Ximo was in the Cleveland Cavalier uniform. The next thing you know, he's giving you 20 and 10, and then he hits those threes. He goes inside, outside. His game has really progressed since Richard Jefferson started last year in the finals, and he really found his role, what he needs to do for that team.
I think he looks the most comfortable that he has in a Cleveland uniform, and his production, I think, has been a little overlooked in Cleveland so far. There we go. There's like 20 minutes of TV.
Stretch it to 15.
Right there.
Give us 15.
Give us
15,
more.
everybody.
If I had that kind of power, I'd do it.
More.
Everybody's
Come on,
an
man.
all-star.
15.
You're all
All Adam
all-stars.
Silver.